Hi guys, and welcome to a watercolor tutorial, and today we're going to be painting this super cute Halloween mobile. I think I called it Pumpkin Mobile, and this is a lot of fun. There's a lot of blending, a lot of detailing, and a lot of layers involved. So I highly recommend that you have a dryer on hand, and let's get started. I have my brushes right here. I have my size 12, my 8, and my 4. I have my Winsor & Newton palette right here. I've also got my tapping cloth. I have got 2 water cups right here out of view. I also have my Dr. Phil Blue Proof White that I'm going to be using. I love this white because it's able just to sit on top of any color. It's good for highlighting. I've got this masking fluid. This acts as kind of like a bond. Oh, sorry, like a glue. It's kind of like a gum that you can put on the paper, and it just sits on top. So I'm going to use an old paintbrush, and to start this piece off, I'm going to apply my masking fluid right here. So wherever I put my masking fluid, that's going to stay the color of the paper. And when this is dry, I'm able to just paint over top. Now the reason why I said use an old paintbrush is because this is kind of like a gum substance. It will ruin your brush if you let it sit on it for too long. And you're going to see here, I'm moving pretty quickly as well because I also don't want to ruin my brush any further than what it already is, but it also dries pretty quickly as well. So if you're finding that you're moving kind of slow, you can just take turns at just rinsing off the glue and the water as well. That way you don't run the risk of ruining your brush. I'm also going to be using this palette right here. It's Shimmering Lights because I have this really pretty silver color right here. If you don't have this glitter sparkle color, you can just use gray, which is using a little bit of black with a lot of water. But I just wanted there to be a little bit of shimmer in this painting piece. Okay, so I'm going to put my old paintbrush away, and I'm going to use my size 8. I'm going to use my size 12. So we're going to be using a lot of black, and the trick with using black is to make sure that you don't just go full pigment, full black, because you're going to lose your ability to layer. I always like to use my watercolor palette. I'll get my color and I'll put it down here versus taking and just applying straight to my page. I feel like it just helps it be less vibrant. So I've got my gray color, and I'm going to put it down right here for the front of my car. Okay, and try your best to stay in the lines. And the reason why I like my brushes so much is because it has a really thin point to it, so I'm able to get into these fine details. Okay, and while this is still wet, I'm going to go in with a more pigmented black, and I'm going to apply a little bit of shading to it. And because this is the wet on wet technique, when this dries, there's going to be a nice blend to it. I'm just going to blend out some of the lines just a bit. And I'm just moving around the paint, different points, just to try and help there be not as many harsh lines. Okay, so I have my shading down. Sorry, I actually just want to add a little bit more darkness to it while I can. And all down here too, I want there to be darker. I'm going to blend out this line right here with just water. Okay, so I'm fairly happy with that. And then right down here towards the bumper. This is going to be black. So I'm putting down my first layer here. Okay, cool. And I'm just going to use the very tip of my brush right here, and while it's still wet, I'm going to scoop up some of that color so that it's a little bit lighter towards the edge. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, I'm finding that it's drying pretty quickly, so I'm just going to go in and add water. You'll see here I already have muggy water, which is fine. I'm just going to go in and apply water first before I apply my black. I'm trying out new paper and I'm just finding that it's drying way quicker than what I'd like. Okay, so now that I have that, so this is wet on wet, so now that this area is wet, you'll see here when I apply that black, it starts to just bleed and blend. So I'll give you that nice blended look that we're looking for. So I'm going to bring this black all the way around the edge, and then all the way right here. I want there to be a more natural color to it. Okay, cool. Now that I have this gray down, I can go in with my darker black and touch again different parts that are supposed to be darker. Like right here, I want darker. And right here, I want darker too. Okay, cool. And I'm going to repeat what I just did on the other side right here. Let this dry. Actually, I'm going to dry it real quick. So because I'm working in a pretty large section of the car, I want to make sure that I'm using the exact same color all the way around my car. So I'm going to be mixing up a gray color right in here. And what I'm going to do first is go around and add water, because I'm going to do the wet on wet technique. That way this just gives me time. I'll avoid any type of, hopefully any streaking. So my masking fluid is definitely dry at this point, so I can just paint over top. And I'm just sticking to the body of the car now, using some water. Okay, so using this color, starting from back here, I'm going to use this color to go around. And you'll see right here when I touch the, what is this called of the car? What part of the car is this called? The tire. Because I'm overlapping it, I've already got a little bit of darkness on top, which I like, and which is what I want. Which is why I've done it in sections and not just painted everything the one color. So it'll definitely help make everything stand out that much more. Okay, so while this is still wet, I can go in and add more depth to it. So I'm gonna go in and add a little bit more of a darker black to it. It's just needs a little bit more love. It has a little bit of darkness. So I'm gonna lift some of this color right here and then add a little bit more black right in here. And then right here where the tire cover is. Guys, I need to learn names of cars. I've got no idea what it is. Right in here as well. I'm gonna add a little bit of shadow. And I'll let the doors dry before I can add any more to that. Okay, so I'm looking around. Okay, I'm happy with this, so I'm gonna dry it. Okay, so this little streak right here is supposed to be a little bit of a darker black. Let me see. It's gonna come around like this. Just like that. I'm gonna just bring this all the way around right here. And then there's a line right here that goes down as well. That can be also shaded to this color. And then right in here where that little line is can be shaded a little bit black. And blending out this line with just water. Okay, and right here again, I just want to add a little bit more depth to it now that it's dry. With water, just trying to blend this out a bit. Right here, there's a line that should be more black. And then this part should be gray, so I'm just gonna let that part dry off a little bit. And I'm gonna add a layer right here. Using just water to blend it out. and right in here too. And then there's a line right in here that needs to be darker. We can follow around my ink mark around the wheel. And then there's an even darker black right in here as well. And the same thing right here, we're going to do on the other side. So you'll see right here, I have kind of like little mini triangles. I'm going to be filling in these with my black. And bringing in some of that rustic black vibe going all the way across. And I'm using the very tip of my brush and I'm just doing little streaks. And then where I see this, my ink mark, is where I'm going to go black. And that's going to be a shadow. So where my ink mark is, you can blend out any harsh lines if you want as well. If you don't love the harsh lines, just use some water at the very tip of your brush. And then this part is going to be just the design to the, I guess, the hood of the car. So this part around the window, it's pretty dark. So I'm going in with a more pigmented black and just filling in the area. So black can be kind of tricky to paint with because even though it's black, it's so dark, but there's different values of black that we're going to be playing around with here. Like we have more grays, we also have a medium black and a more pigmented black. It's just trying to not have your piece be flat, is just honestly just playing around with those black values to make sure that you're not just painting absolutely everything with one or two shades. Going in sections as well really helps with this part as well, because even when your lines overlap, it creates almost like a barrier in a line so that it looks like you did it on purpose. I'm just going to cover that line. Because it's a layer, right? So now you're adding a layer around. Okay, I'm going to dry this so I don't forget to do it. And around this light, there's a little line, so you can follow it around. And I want this to be a darker, more pigmented black, so I'm just going to go in and paint it just one more time so that it's already darker than the rest of the car. Do you see how this black now is really pigmented and really strong? It's because I've now layered on top, so that gray was my base color. And now that I'm putting this on top, it looks really black, which is perfect for what we're trying to do. Not liking this blend that I've done right here. I think I'm just going too conservative. I need to go a little bit bolder. There we go. Now I like it. Okay. I just was not going bold enough. Add more depth and detail to it. And around this little thing, my light. And then right here, I can add my door. Okay, so I'm gonna add a little bit more layer over here on my wheel. Okay, so around this area right here, it's kind of similar to the post around the window right here. So I'm going to use this gray color to go around now. And kind of give it that 3D look. And on the inside right here, I'm just going to do it darker. And then down here as well, it can be that grayish, darkish color as well. So yeah, there's lots of sections in this piece and lots of layering as well. If you don't layer, your piece will just kind of look a little flat, which is no fun. So make sure you're moving around your page, making sure we're layering. Okay, so right here, I can see that there needs to be a little bit of some layers, some shadows. Down right here. I need to fill in this part of the headlamp. And I'm going to dry it so I can move on with my layers, okay? Let me just add a little bit of darkness right here on the edge, and then I'm going to dry it. And this part is going to be the darkest part. So filling this part in. I'm gonna mix a little bit. Yeah, I just mixed this color in here to make it more gray. That was more of a coppery color. A little bit of white. I don't know why that color isn't as gray as what I thought it was going to be. Let me try out this pinkish color. Yeah, I think I'm just going to use this one. The other one was super dark. It's got a nice shimmer to it. Put some shimmer down here. Right here. And I have 2 dots right here, so I'm just going to try and, there we go, shimmy it out of the way. I'm going to use the same color here as the rest of the lights, because why not? And you know what, while it's still wet, I'll add a little bit of indigo to it. In here I have some triangles. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna cover all of it and then I can just do my lines over top. That's what we'll do. Because you can still see my ink marks. And over here. And I'm gonna take off my masking fluid. So the fun thing about this masking fluid is you can just use the tip of your finger, but everything around it has to be 100% dry. Otherwise, you'll just end up ripping your page, smudging your piece of artwork. So everything has to be dry in order for you to take off the masking fluid successfully, okay? So I'm trying to stay in my lines and not go over. Okay, I think I'm done with that color. Gonna blow the masking fluid away. Oh, I'm not done with that color. Whoops. I have to still do the front of my car. So wherever I see any of that like white space that I had, I'm just covering it with shimmer. And I am gonna add this darker shimmer color to the edges of it. Under here as well, just to give it a little bit more pop. And then this darker shimmer we'll use for some dimension as well on the inside of the lights. This is too dark, so I'm just using water. And I'm just doing like little swerve just to break up the color just a little bit. Okay, looking around, I think I'm done with that. I also just saw that I have missed a bit of gray, so I'm gonna come in here and add that in here. And the bumper down here I missed as well. So I'm just filling that part in. So my tires are also, no surprise, black, but the rims have a little bit of black in them as well. So I definitely don't want to go too dark with my wheels because then my rims will just kind of blend and not look the best. Go on the inside and do my little lines that I can see on top of my shimmer. And then the inside is also a gray color. So where I see my lines, I'm going on top. And I'm gonna dry this. So on the inside, there's definitely gonna be a few layers that we need to do. It's a little bit too dark. And then in the inside right here, there's some layers. If you can follow my line around. On the inside in here, there's some layers as well. So I would say this is my third layer. After about 3 layers here, I actually like how my rims are turning out. So just make sure you're kind of sticking with it. This part is going to be darker as well of my tires. And this part as well is darker for my tires. And then this part is going to be a little bit gray in here. Okay, so that's the gist of my car. I'm going to go in now and work on my little gnome skin tone. I mix in equal parts yellow and red, and I do like to mix just a hair of blue, and it'll give me like a really nice peachy color that I think is perfect for skin tone. I'm going to fill in this little guy's hand and little button nose. I'm gonna let that dry. And just kind of underneath and over top just a little bit, just to kind of give it that little 3D effect. And right in here where the thumb crease would be as well, just going in and adding a little bit more love. Oops, I just accidentally filled in this whole layer. So I'm gonna scoop up. There we go. So what happens when you fill in the whole layer, it just kind of sits on top of it and just gives you nothing. Right where the thumb would be, I just gave it a little bit more layer to it. So it just didn't look so flat. Okay, so now the hat has a little bit of gray to it. So I'm gonna try and follow my lines. I'm gonna start at the top of my hat. I feel like this is the fun part, is coming in here. And while it's still wet, I am touching the sides of it. And then this part is also black. And I'm going to touch right underneath, different points with darkness, which would mean that this part is dark. And then right under the hand, right here, his collar is black. And then there's a line right here that's black. And then there's a line right here for his clothes that are black. And since we're just working with the blacks, the shades of black, I'm gonna come in and just do the inside of these pumpkins' eyes, which I don't know if I'm gonna regret. But we're gonna do it anyway. The reason why I'm saying regret is because I don't want it to smudge. But I'm feeling pretty confident once it dries, it'll be fine. And then there's a little bit of a black eye right here, a little bit of the black mouth right here. Then following just the jig-jag shape of the mouth, we can go in and fill it out with this spooky pumpkin. Right here, and right here, right here. Okay, cool. So I think I am pretty much done with the black. Now I just have to work on some of my shadow colors, which again is black, but also just more gray, really muted gray colors. So I'm gonna come in here and just do some really fine lines with a really wash of gray. And this is gonna represent his white beard. Goes all the way down from the top right here, all the way down to look like a beard. And then there is a darker part right here and under here. We're supposed to look a little bit more shadowed. Under the nose can be shadowed. And then I'm gonna follow my lines now of my hat, and I'm not gonna be filling absolutely everything in because it's supposed to look white. So we'll only really focus on the shadows with it. So using my shadow color, so right at the top and around the sides is where I'm gonna be focusing on my light color. So switching now to my size 4 brush. Whatever I just touched, I'm just gonna blend it out with just water so I have no harsh lines. And that's how I'm gonna get my effect of white. Coming around to the sides, right here at the top, blending it out with just water. Here's a little bit more shadowed than the other parts. So wherever my ink line marks are, I'm going in and just blending out more of a shadow right here where it just kind of overlaps. And then right underneath the guy's beard, There's just gonna be a little bit more of a shadow under here too. I think this part, yep. Okay, so adding a little bit more depth to the beard area. I think that's pretty good for him. And then right under here, I just noticed is supposed to be darkness for the pumpkin. So I'm going in and just filling in the darkness for this little guy. Okay, cool. So I'm feeling pretty good about our little gnome character. I'm gonna, oops, way too dark. Blend, 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 blend. Okay. Scoop, lift, blend. Oh, there's a little line ink mark right here. I gotta fill in this and blend that out. Blend, 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 blend. Oh, in the arm. Blend. I'm gonna blend it all out. Give the guy a little bit of depth in his arms. Okay, cool. So now for the pumpkin, it's also a white pumpkin. So I'm going in with the same color that I just did for the shadowing, and I'm just gonna be touching kind of like where the edges are and underneath. And I'm also gonna be adding just a hair of blue into my shadowing for the pumpkins as well, just so that it doesn't blend in too much with my gnome. So let me just add a little bit of blue over here. There needs to be a shadow for the pumpkin, and then around it. So yeah, I'm just touching different points. So because I already did my eyes and whatnot, like I said, I hope I didn't regret it, but just try your best to just not bleed. Let it bleed, sorry. And I'm just touching different points while it's wet, so I'm moving pretty fast on my pumpkin so that there's more of like a natural bleed and blend for my white pumpkin. And I'm going to do the same over here. There's a shadow, so I'm going to blend this out. I'm going to do a line right here for my pumpkin, and then right here for my pumpkin. Making sure I'm blending everything to the best that I can, adding some nice shadows to the bottom, and then even towards the top. And I'm going to add a pretty big shadow right here between those pumpkins. And right in here, there needs to be more shadows. And right underneath the pumpkin, there needs to be more shadows too. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is, because I did the pumpkin face first, I'm just gonna go in and just make sure I didn't bleed, which I don't think I really did, other than just right there. Add a little bit more black to it. Okay, so I'm feeling pretty good about this little gnome car. I just gotta add the little topping for my pumpkin right here. So I'm using the very tip of my brush. I'm going in with that darker black color that I had. And towards the bottom, I'm gonna just create some lines. And I want it to just blend a little bit more. So I'm using just water towards the bottom, and I'm just gonna blend this out. Blend, blend, blend. I want to just blend the bottom bit a little bit more too. Okay, and there we have it for my little gnome car.